Okay, so we should be live now. So anyone who needs to follow along from there, you can go ahead on the YouTube page. I ask that anyone who's following along on YouTube and is not muted on this stream, please make sure your YouTube sound is cut at that time, because if it gets feedback through your microphone, it turns into a very unpleasant noise because there's a bit of feedback and a bit of a delay. So just try and keep YouTube sound turned off while you're speaking. So my name is Charlotte McEwen. I'm a planner with the city, and I will be the city contact on the applications that are in front of us right now and that we're talking about tonight. I'm going to start off with a quick PowerPoint presentation giving an overview of tonight and the presentations, and then I'll turn it over to Diane to go over in a little more detail the project that's proposed. I will allow Diane and everyone to please introduce yourselves when you start to speak. Just give yourself an introduction, just so that I don't do the rounds right now while we can't see most of you. So once you're speaking, give us a quick intro first. I will bring up my presentation now. Okay. All right. Diane, are you able to see my presentation right now? I'm just having a little trouble with this.
Yes, I can see your presentation.
That's okay. Is it the sort of the in PowerPoint screen, or is it the full screen?
Yeah, so it's the full screen. So it's the full presentation. I can't see any notes or anything.
Okay, great. I will go from there then. And it's on the second page now. I've switched it. Okay, perfect. So the applications are for the lands known as 93 and 95 Lakeport Road and 9 John Street here in St. Catharines. Currently there's applications for an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment. The open house today, the intent is to provide information on the applications to the public, to advise on what the process is going to be, to receive any comments and concerns that you have today. And there are no decisions being made today. This will go to a public meeting in front of council at some point, and there will be another notice and another meeting then that you're able to participate in front of council. The lands are located at the end of the block between John Street and Lakeport Road and Old Lakeshore Boulevard. The proposal is a single-story addition to the existing dental office. There's a new parking area proposed containing 19 spaces, one of which is accessible, and there's an existing parking area containing 14 spaces, 2 of which are accessible. There's access from both Old Lakeshore Boulevard and John Street. 2 are existing, and there is 1 proposed from John Street. And this application will ultimately require site plan approval if approved for the amendments that they've applied for now. This is the site plan. We will see it a bit more in detail as we go on, but it does show the accesses on John Street, on Old Lakeshore, and it differentiates the proposed and existing parts of the building. The official plan currently designates the lands at 9 John Street and 93 Lakeport Road as neighborhood residential, and the existing dental office on the 95 Lakeport is currently designated commercial. And further, this is specifically low density residential on the residential lands and community commercial on commercial lands. The existing zoning is community commercial on the existing dental office and low density residential traditional neighborhood on the residential lands. So what we're considering is an official plan amendment to redesignate the properties at 93 Lakeport and 9 John Street from the low density residential to community commercial so that the dental office can expand onto it. and to consider a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the same properties from low density residential to community commercial, and to also put special provisions on all 3 properties to recognize the location of the existing building, as some of the setbacks to that building wouldn't meet our current zoning, and to address the non-commercial floor area in the building because it is an office in a commercial zone, and site-specific setbacks, landscape buffers, and the number of parking spaces proposed. In the future, site plan approval is going to be required to address details like the planting details, the servicing, engineering, drainage, and architecture on site. If these are approved, we would still be going through that process to get the finer details. So the applications currently have been circulated by the city to the applicable agencies like the region and to internal city departments. And we are currently reviewing those applications and will be making a recommendation to council based on all of the comments we get from those from that circulation and from our planning policies. We will make a report to council. It will become publicly available about a week before the public meeting, which has not yet been scheduled. That date is to be determined, but we will issue notice before that so that everybody in the area has a chance to come and speak to that as well. That's the end of my presentation, so I can pass this over now to Diane. I'm just going to make it available for you to share your screen. Okay, you should be able to go ahead whenever you'd like.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to pull it up here. Let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, awesome. Yep. So thanks so much, Charlotte. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Diane Ramos, planner at NPG Solutions, and I'm also here tonight with our principal planner, Mary Lou Tanner. We're here on behalf of our client, Lakeport Properties, to present the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment in support of the future office expansion at 93 Lakeport Road and 9 John Street. We will be available to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. The subject lands are identified as 95 and 93 Lakeport Road and 9 John Street. The lands recently merged on title, being legally identified as one property. The subject lands are located at the corner of Lakeport Road and Old Lakeshore Boulevard, containing an approximate area of 2,480 square meters. Lakeport Road is classified as a regional arterial road. The portion of the lands identified as 95 Lakeport contain the existing dental office that is approximately 460 square meters in ground floor area. There is a parking lot accessed via John Street and Old Lakeshore Boulevard containing 14 spaces, one of those spaces which is accessible. 93 Lakeport Road and 9 John Street are currently vacant. Previously, there were 2 single detached dwellings located at each address. The surrounding lands are commercial and residential in nature. Lakeport Properties is proposing a minor office expansion along the frontage of Lakeport Road that will be 155 square meters in ground floor area. The expansion will support additional facilities for the existing dental practice. The building will contain a total ground floor area of 615 square meters, which is not including the basement. An additional 19 parking spaces are proposed, accessed via John Street. The proposed development will contain a total parking count of 33 spaces, consisting of 3 accessible spaces. A future site plan application will be submitted to the city for further review at a later date once we are further along in the public process for the OPA and ZBA application. As existing, 95 Lakeport is designated as community commercial, and 93 Lakeport and 9 John are designated as low density residential in Schedule E1 of the city's official plan. An official plan amendment is required for the proposed development to permit the expansion of the office use. 93 Lakeport and 9 John are proposed to be redesignated to community commercial. It is important to note the neighborhood residential designation permits ancillary uses, which consist of community commercial and small scale office uses, although this is contemplated as more of a mixed use development within this designation. As existing, 95 Lakeport is zoned as community commercial, and 93 Lakeport and 9 John are zoned as low-density residential in Appendix E of the city's zoning bylaw. A zoning bylaw amendment is required to permit the expansion of the dental office use. We are requesting a zoning bylaw for the entire lands to recognize the proposed layout of the entire site and to prohibit specific land uses. The subject lands will be rezoned to a community commercial site-specific zone. The proposed zoning bylaw will accommodate the site layout of the proposed development, requesting relief from the zoning provisions in the community commercial parent zone. The landscape buffer abutting John Street is proposed at 1.3 meters to recognize a pinch point between the right-of-way and the parking lot area. It is not anticipated this will have any impact on the streetscape due to existing vegetation located directly north in the right-of-way. The landscape buffer abutting the residential uses to the west is proposed at 2 meters to accommodate pinch points along the western lot line. There is no anticipated impact on the residents to the west. There will be a 1.8 meter timber fence installed along the lot boundary. In addition, trees are also proposed along the west lot line to provide appropriate landscape buffering from the parking lot. There are also existing trees planted on the neighboring property, which further contribute to landscape privacy screening. The addition is proposed to be set back 3 meters from the westerly lot line. It is not anticipated this will impact the neighbors to the west at 91 Lakeport, since we are proposing a 1.8 meter timber fence and there are existing trees at the neighboring property that provide buffering. In addition, the building expansion is proposed beside a detached garage and driveway at 91 Lakeport. The office addition is located far from the actual dwelling that is located at 91 Lakeport. A 2 meter exterior side yard setback is proposed to recognize the building's existing setback at Old Lakeshore Boulevard. So it's just at the corner here where the building is, the existing building. No physical change to the building is requested with this relief. According to the city's parking rate, 39 spaces would be required on site to accommodate the existing building and the proposed expansion. As existing, the building does not meet the city's parking rate. The proposed 33 spaces would be providing an improvement to the reduced parking rate. The proposed development also provides bicycle racks and is located along public transit routes, promoting several modes of active transportation, justifying this reduced rate. In addition, Lakeport Properties currently rents out parking spaces at the commercial plaza across the street at the other side of Old Lakeshore Boulevard. A technicality in the city's zoning bylaw defines office use in the C2 zone as non-commercial, permitting only 40% of non-commercial uses to be located on site. We are requesting for 100% of non-commercial use on site since we are proposing only the dental office use. And finally, the C2 parent zone permits vehicular related uses such as car washes, commercial parking structures, gas stations, and motor vehicle repair garages. We have requested to remove these uses in our zoning bylaw as these uses would not be appropriate on site due to the surrounding residential uses. In addition, a minor variance application was approved in 2011 for site-related setbacks. 2 variances will be carried forward with the lands. 0.4 meters for the rear yard setback for the rear of the building facing John Street, and 2 meters from the front lot line facing Lakeport Road. A landscape plan was submitted with our application. We have identified appropriate parking lot screening along John Street and for the neighbors to the west. We are providing trees, flower bushes, and a 1.8 meter timber fence. It is also important to note there is an existing mature tree in the right-of-way along John Street. So that's right here, if you can see my mouse. We have angled the driveway into the parking lot to maintain this tree. We wanted to provide further rationale on the site layout since there were a few questions. The existing rear of the building is located close to the lot line, which screens part of the parking lot. As previously noted, there is landscape surrounding the entrance, contributing to the streetscape along John Street. Additional parking is provided on site, improving the overall parking rate. This will minimize on-street parking and overspill onto John Street. 2 publicly accessible entranceways are proposed that connect to both parking lots. It is noted that it is anticipated that staff will utilize the rear parking lot. The expansion itself is 1 story, which is appropriate with the surrounding neighborhood, minimizing any potential impact on neighboring properties. The building will also maintain street presence on Lakeport Road. The new parking lot will be hidden from the main street, enhancing the design of the building, encouraging walkability and other modes of transportation. The expansion is also slightly set back from the existing front building wall, providing dimension for the front of the building along Lakeport Road. Landscaping is also provided to further enhance the streetscape at Lakeport Road. It is important to note, since Lakeport Road is a regional arterial road, the region has requested an entranceway is not proposed here. The city's planning and urban design department had also commented on potential entranceways along Lakeport Road, and they had preferred for an entranceway to be located at John Street. A functional servicing brief was completed. The water and sanitary line at 95 Lakeport will be utilized to service the addition. The stormwater from 9 John and 93 Lakeport will drain to the storm sewer located at along Lakeport Road. Further detail on site servicing will be determined at the site plan stage. It is not anticipated that future servicing and stormwater management will have an impact on any neighboring properties. In summary, the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment represent good land use planning, is in the public interest, and should be supported by the approval authority for the following reasons. The proposed development is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms with A Place to Grow, the Niagara Region official plan, and the City of St. Catharines official plan. The proposed development provides an opportunity for a minor office expansion that will be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood in the built-up area. The proposed development provides additional parking and contains an appropriate site layout with landscape screening. The proposed development provides an opportunity to develop within an area that makes efficient use of available land, services, and infrastructure. This concludes our presentation. Mary Lou Tanner and I will be available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Diane. I'm going to now start with, I believe, first ones are Robert and Shampa. I can ask you guys to unmute and turn on your video now. Give a quick introduction, state your address, and if you want to start by just listing some concerns, or if you want to start with a question, just go ahead. The floor is yours for now, and we will go through. You guys, then Colleen, then Larry. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thanks a lot, Charlotte. Thanks, Diane, for your presentation. Appreciate it. I'm just going to list some of the issues that we have. We're not opposed to the overall principle of this modest expansion of the building, the dental office. Our main concern relates to the impact on the surrounding residential uses. We believe the proposal as presented certainly does not address the impact on the residents of John Street. And you'll be hearing from one of my neighbors on that as well. Basically, our main focus is on reducing the impact of the parking lot and also the other part of the building as well. I realize that hydrangeas are beautiful bushes. However, we really strongly believe that there needs to be fencing along John Street. There needs to be more coniferous trees. I note that the site plan is suggesting sugar maples and also oaks, and I don't really believe those are suitable trees for a site plan. And as I say, hydrangeas will provide no buffering or mitigation. So I would suggest, Diane, that you folks take a look again at the landscape plan, and perhaps more effort could be put at preserving the privacy of the residents along John Street. I should say we live at 8 John Street. I forgot to mention that. The issue right now is, if you visited the site, there are big windows of the offices overlooking those of us on John Street. So although I understand you're saying this is a compatible use, not exactly. It really is infringing on our privacy. And by having the addition of the building, although it's modest, the windows of that building and having a staff parking lot there will further reduce our privacy as well. So we're not saying we're opposed to this. All we're simply saying is there is so much more that could be done to reduce the impact on us. So we'd ask you to take a look at that. John is a narrow residential street. It is not your normal residential street. The width is less. And so the impact of having commercial traffic coming down the street and parking at the rear will have an impact on us. The existing small 14-space parking lot already is having an impact. We are seeing delivery vehicles quite often blocking our driveway, and we have gone to the owners of the building and expressed our concern. Now, adding another 19 spaces, we believe is going to further the impact of this development. We would like to see the number of spaces reduced. And I do have a question, because you've said that I believe the building as a whole requires 39 spaces, and it's not meeting that. However, spaces are being provided along Old Lakeshore Road and also at the existing plaza at the corner of Lakeport and Lakeshore, which is, I believe, owned by the owners of this building. So there is sufficient parking in the area, and I believe it is just good planning to try and reduce the amount of paved space for additional parking, especially in this part of the city. So we would like to see the number of spaces reduced. And my question is, this modest expansion of about, I believe it's 155 square meters, how many additional parking spaces does that generate? Because we would like to see this parking space reduced considerably. And we'd like the setback of the parking to at least be at the similar setback as the other houses along John Street, along that side of the street. As I see, you're actually seeking a variance to reduce the setback. We would expect an increase in the setback. It certainly won't impact on your ability to build this expansion. My neighbor who will be speaking later, Larry Zwick, at 10 John Street, will be suggesting a redesign of this building to provide access onto Lakeport. I'm not trying to introduce the impact on our neighbors on Lakeport. However, we would like that to be considered as well, because that would enable a fence and landscaping to put all along John Street. Again, we're the ones who are being affected the most. One comment, which I think you've already addressed, is zoning of the site should be very site specific. I believe you're taking out all the other uses permitted for the C2 zone. We just want to make sure that the zoning of this property, when it's finalized, ensures that it is only for the proposed use of this property, and that this zoning is not used as a precedent for this property to be used for other uses currently permitted in the C2 zone, because this is going on to zoning that is for low density residential right now. Also, and I have provided formal comments, and I'm not going to repeat all of those here, Charlotte, but one of my comments was we just wanted to ensure that this rezoning, it's an ad hoc, It's really meant to address an existing business, and that's why it can probably be supported. However, we don't want it to be a precedent for the expansion of more commercial uses along Lakeport Road. The road is already congested. There is already vacant commercial space, and it's simply not good planning, ad hoc commercial development. I think those are my main comments there. I would really like consideration being given to my neighbor at 10 John Street, his comments. Keep in mind, again, the privacy is not only impacting us, it's really impacting him. His property at 10 John Street will be directly across from the parking lot. The other issue I forgot to mention is the width of the entrance to this parking. There are creative ways to reduce the width of these entrances. We would like that, because otherwise we're going to have these two very wide commercial entrances on John Street at the entrance. And there isn't a need for emergency entrance on this secondary parking lot, because there's already emergency access at the main 14-space parking lot. So we would really like to reduce the width of the entrance, and again, improve significantly the buffering and the landscaping, and providing fencing along John Street.
Fencing to go
all the way along John Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your input. And just before I move along to Colleen, I assume that that's all for now. I'll come back to you guys if we need to at the end. But just before I move on, I wanted to make just a couple notes on some of your comments. One of which is that this second access that's being proposed, I don't believe is actually needed specifically for an emergency access route. Maybe Diane could correct me. But I believe if there's an emergency access route at this time, it goes through the other parking area, or they would fight it from the street if there were a fire. So the width of the access isn't actually to do with emergency access, but I've written that down, and we can certainly look into what the width options are there. And one other point before we go on is just that so far the comments we've received from the region, whose road is Lakeport Road, is that they would not like to see this entrance on Lakeport. They would prefer that all access went from John Street. That's what the city has said so far as well. Again, I've written it down, we'll look into it, but right now the region is not supportive of adding a commercial entrance onto Lakeport. I understand that there was a driveway there before with the former home, but this would be a little different than that. So that's just why this has been proposed as it is now. But again, I've written down the concerns, and we can also keep that discussion going with the region. I'm going to mute you guys now, and I will go on to Colleen here. Colleen, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte, and thank you, Diane, for the presentation. I think some of my questions have been answered, but getting back to the access on Lakeport Road, I am absolutely opposed to any access on Lakeport Road. Yes, there was a driveway there before, and you say this is a bit different. This is a lot different with an access on Lakeport Road. It is so unsafe at so many levels. So I'm just saying that. I won't get into specifics, but you can imagine the traffic on Lakeport Road. It would be disastrous. It's tough enough getting out of the driveway on Lakeport Road now. I can imagine what it would be like for traffic going in and out of that parking lot. However, you did say that the parking lot, the new parking lot, the proposed parking lot, is going to be used mainly for staff, which means there's not going to be as much in and out parking or traffic going in and out of the parking lot as it would be for appointments. So I do like that idea. Moving on to the storm runoff, you did mention, Diane, that there should be no effect to the immediate residential areas. I think I might leave that until the site plan approval. I am assuming that we can be participating in the site plan approval. Is that correct?
Yep, the city has a general direction from council to have open houses for site plans as well. So we would definitely be having another public notice go out. If these are approved and they go through site plan, we would still get back in touch. But you're welcome to share at least the concerns as you have in writing, so that if we need to sort of mention at this point that this is something that needs to be considered later at site plan, we at least have that down. But in terms of drainage, we do address that at the site plan stage in every case.
Okay, but just to comment that obviously what is green space now, mostly green space, is being replaced with pavement and asphalt. So there is a concern about runoff of a commercial activity onto residential, because I am north of the property, and that's the way water drains in that area. So I just want to comment that I am concerned with this, and I will reiterate my comments that I have submitted to you. But my property has never, I'm at 91 Lakeport Road, by the way, so right next door. So my property has never required a sump pump before. And I've heard a few horror stories about developments around the area where as soon as there was development, that the houses required sump pumps. So that is a concern of mine. And also the issue with the plumbing clearouts. As soon as that house was demolished next door, I've had an issue that I've needed clearouts. However, my house is 100 years old, so it might not be, it might just be a coincidence, but I'm putting that on record anyway. So those are my issues about or concerns about the stormwater runoff and the drainage infrastructure. The fence, and I'm not sure this is allowed, but I would like to see a higher fence, especially when we're dealing with a parking lot between lots 91 and 93. I don't know, because if this becomes community commercial, if that is allowed, but that is something I would like considered if it's possible. And also about the fence, I would like to see it. And I think looking at your site plan right now, it looks like the fencing does stop short of going directly or abutting onto the sidewalk at 93, at least 20 feet, so that it doesn't obstruct the line of sight for people getting out of the driveway at 91. I think this is standard, but I just want to make that comment. Trees. I think as we speak, so I'm aware, or so I've been informed by my neighbor, that trees are coming down as we speak, actually, which is very, very unfortunate. I was hoping that you could take the landscape plan and somehow incorporate some of those beautiful coniferous trees that are a beacon to our neighborhood, obviously have been up there for a very long time. This not only provides shade to the property at 91, but it's also a matter of the city has declared a climate emergency. And it just would be so helpful to have everybody's input to see if we can preserve as many trees as possible. I know that because the trees are so tall, it probably would have been delightful or more favorable if some of those trees could have been preserved and a little bit of a landscape buffer could have been designed around those trees to protect them. But apparently it might be too late for that, which is very unfortunate. I'm assuming that the future site plan, which is going to be available later, will address the lighting. I noticed in the plan that there is no plan for lighting yet, but that will be available through that process. So that will answer that question. One of the questions I do have regarding the wells, I understand, or I know, I used to own that property at 93. And when they were constructing the dental office at 95 Lakeport Road, they ran into some waste problems on that property. And as a result of the remediation process, they installed several wells on the property of number 93. And I don't know if you can give me an update on the status of those wells, what they found, if a report is available, whether it affected the property at 91. Is this something that you can provide to me?
I'm not sure if it's something I can provide. I can look into that. I have a note here to check with our engineers and building department at the city. If it's something
Charlotte,
yeah, maybe.
we did check with the client, and they provided a response. So they said that no further spread or increase in contamination of the wells in the zone has been affected, and the renovation is being used to clean up the contamination as part of the process of the basement excavation. So any impact around the surrounding area will be minimized.
Okay, thank you. Good to know. I think that answers all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I will mention one more thing before we go on to Larry, just that I understand your concern with the trees. I can say that unfortunately at this time, the city doesn't have any sort of private tree bylaw in place. So there's no way to require them to stay short of already having an agreement in place on those lands. And that's not the case. So I do understand your concern, and unfortunately, except for the ones on the boulevard, we don't really have a say in that. So if that's all the questions for now, I'll go on to Larry here. And Colleen, you can mute and turn off your video. Oh, there you are.
There I am. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Okay, I'm Larry Swears. I live next door to Robert and Champa at 8. I'm at 10 John Street, directly across from the proposed parking lot and expansion. I know it's been said that this parking lot is only going to be used for possibly the staff, but when I look at the site plan, I can see at least 4, if not 5 new offices, which I'm going to guess would have dentists or surgeons or, practitioners working in them. So to me, it means, and my question is, how many more dentists or staff are actually going to be working here? If it simply means that we're increasing the already 22 plus workers that are in the building to, I don't know how many more, they're all going to require parking as well. So I'm not sure if it's going to help with the parking situation. It's just going to increase the need for more parking. As far as the entrance, and in my submission, I wrongly put entrance off of Lakeshore Boulevard. I meant off of Lakeport. And I know Colleen is opposed to any entrances off of Lakeport. Previously, when the building was a commercial building, gas station or body shop, restaurant, there were entrances, commercial entrances for the property. So having an entrance off of Lakeport to the actual address of the building, I was just looking at a creative way to mitigate the parking and the external traffic that's going to show up on John Street. As far as, I understand if the cities, I don't know why they'd be against it now if it was the old traditional use of the property. As far as if that can't go forward for whatever reason, the entrance on John Street. I mean, even the building right now, they've got some bushes there at the sides of the buildings, but they in no way are create any privacy for Robert, Champa, and myself. It's wide open windows all day. People inside and outside the building. The lack of privacy that this creates for us on a residential street is only going to be increased by another parking spot with people milling about. If there was a fence, I don't know what the legal requirement for a fence height is or can be, but something where I can't see into the parking lot, and put some coniferous bushes in front of the fence if we want to make it look prettier. But the existing tree that you want to save out front, unless you're 10 feet tall, it's not going to create any privacy at all. It'll create privacy for the rooftop. So, the traffic issues on our street right now have only increased substantially from the way the building is currently laid out. And I can only see that increasing even more. Lakeport Road is already, a commercial street and all that comes with that. John Street, it's billed as a quiet residential street. That may still be true at the end on Michigan, but at our end, it's anything but now. So, I support what Robert said about, changing some of the landscape and design, but, for me, I would rather just enclose the whole thing off of John Street, put some bushes or something, trees that actually create privacy in front of the existing office that's there at the very back on John Street, and block it off. I guess that's pretty well all I have to say at this point. I hope you might consider some of these suggestions.
Thank you, Larry. And yes, we have your written comments, and I've been taking notes now, so we'll certainly take all of this into account. I'll just do a quick question now to Robert and Champa. Did either of you guys want to say anything additional now that we've gone through all of you? Do you have any new thoughts or thoughts that have come through others' comments?
You want to just...
Yeah, this is Champa speaking. Again, we're at 8 John Street, and I just wanted to say that when the original dental office went up as part of the proposed site plan, there was supposed to be fencing along the back, along John Street. That was never put in. So again, we're reiterating that there needs to be more buffering between that building and our house. There needs to be more of a residential streetscape preserved. What was there before was a front garden, and we would like to see that again. We would like to see taller fencing. And the other issue we're having is with the commercial vehicles that are stopping on our street. They stop at least once a day, if not twice a day. They've blocked our driveway several times. We've had a couple of medical emergencies where we needed to get our car out of the driveway and we couldn't. And basically I had to drive over the boulevard to get to the road. These are all sort of everyday living concerns that I have as a homeowner. But also there are children on the street who cycle down the middle of that little road, and it's always been a quiet residential road. People walk with their dogs. Just a little concerned that this is going to create some issues in the future, especially with traffic coming in and out of that second entrance onto John Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I've got that down. And Colleen, Robert, did you have anything else to add?
No, I'd simply asked that question about the expansion of the building by 150 square meters. How many parking spaces would be generated by that?
Right. So I can say that there were, I believe, based on the actual gross leasable floor area, It was somewhere between 1 and 5 generated, but I think you were asking about number of actual employees. Is that what you were looking for?
No,
No, just the actual generated. Diane, do you have the number off the top of your head?
So what we did is we calculated based on the entire floor area to be conservative. So just looking at the expansion itself, it would be about 6 parking spaces, not accounting for the basement and not accounting for the basement that's existing as well. So we're willing to take a look at the parking rate with staff once you guys review our calculations.
Okay, so Charlotte, our response would be if it's generating 6 spaces, the parking lot should be limited to 6 spaces.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Colleen, any additional comments?
I do. I have a couple questions about the building design. Can you answer those?
We may be able to.
Oh, okay. On the north side that faces my property, are there windows?
I am not certain. I think there may be, though. That's my memory. It looks like Diane's looking it up right now, and she should be able to confirm. And I'll also say that that sort of detail level is also something that we do sort of hammer down at the site plan stage. If this were generally approved, then they would have to get elevations, the exterior approved as well. So this is a concept plan, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, while she's looking that up, I did have, I just want to clarify the minimum abutment at the side yard, the north yard between my property and the building. You say it's going to be 3 meters, but what is required is a 7.5 meter. So you're asking for a variance change there. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is something that would have to be addressed because they've asked for an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment. It would be part of the site specific zoning because buildings on commercial properties. So if the zoning were approved to change, that parcel would become commercial. Those buildings have to be 7.5 meters from residential properties. So in this case, yes, it would be a site specific reduction to the proposed 3 meters.
Okay, I wouldn't oppose to that if there were no windows on that side.
So the conceptual elevations that were prepared, it does show 2 windows, one large window and one small window at the left, but we will make a note of that.
Okay, was there anything else right now, Colleen? Or is
No,
that
that's it. Thank you.
for now? Okay, then I suppose one more time I'll ask Larry now that we've gone through the other two. If you have anything else that has come up just through these last couple comments, if you have any last thoughts tonight. You can also always email in, all of you. Anything else, Larry?
No, I'll just be very curious to see what the next proposal for the development is. I'm still very curious to see how many more new employees are going to be working there and needing parking, because I think one directly affects the other. And we already have, maybe 25, 28 people there, and 60, approximately, if they would include the new 19 spots, that'll be 60 parking places, which seems like an awful lot to me. Beyond that, it's all about privacy issues and the amount of traffic coming in and out of the facility.
Okay.
And that's all about I can think of for now.
I actually had one quick question for you. For the number of parking spaces, are you including off-site spaces? Because there's only 30, or what was the number on site?
33.
33 on
spaces, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I drove past because they own the back of the building there, and everyone from the office currently parks behind the little strip mall there. So between that, the parking on the street on Old Lakeshore Boulevard, and the parking that is already at the facility, it adds up to, I think, 49 spaces.
Okay. I was just curious as to where the number came from, so that clears that up.
Yeah, no, that was just counting the spaces that are marked right with white lines, and looking at how many cars were parked on Old Lakeshore Boulevard yesterday.
Okay.
And there was still space for probably a couple more, so we're looking at least 60 spots, 59, something like that.
Okay. All right. And you don't have any more comments tonight?
Not tonight. No, just very sad as well to see, coincidentally, the trees being felled today in the lot across the street. It looks like they may have left one or two, but I can see they're probably going to come down as well. So
thank you for.
That's it for now.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'll just reiterate that this isn't the decision night. This isn't the last day. You'll hear about the public meeting when it is scheduled. And in the meantime, you're welcome to get in touch with myself and through me, Diane, as well, if you have any questions that you would like answered. And we will continue to review the application and you guys will stay informed. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming. Have a great night.